Hey guys, R4GE VipeRzZ, and today I'm going to show you how you can wipe and zero out a drive so that it is much harder to recover any data from it. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using this 120GB SSD here. Now this SSD has a text file on it that has been deleted as you normally would within Windows. So if we now come and open up some drive recovery software, and then we scan the drive. So now the scan's finished. As you can see, it was able to recover the text file that was deleted off it. So once we wipe and zero out the drive, it shouldn't be able to find files like that anymore. So in order to wipe and zero out a drive, we're first going to need some sort of USB or other storage device that doesn't have anything on that we want that we can use as a boot device. This is because we're going to be using a program called DBAN to wipe and zero out the drive. But in order to run DBAN, you need to be able to boot into it. It's not a program that can say be ran within Windows. So if I just come to this PC, I'll just show you I have my SanDisk USB here that has nothing on it that I'm going to be using as the boot device for DBAN. So once you've made sure you've got some sort of storage device that you can use as a boot medium, you can then come to this link here. The link will be in the description, and this is where you can download DBAN from. So if we come to download DBAN, and then we download it, it should then download the ISO file. And there we go, the ISO file has now downloaded. Now, in addition to the ISO file, we're also going to need a program to create the bootable USB. So if you come to this link here, we're going to download a program called Rufus that will create a bootable USB for us using the ISO we have just downloaded. So if we come down here to the releases and we download the exe, and there we go, Rufus has also now downloaded. So I'll just bring both of those files onto the desktop. And there we go, I've now brought Rufus and the ISO onto the desktop. So we're now going to run the Rufus program, and in the devices you want to select the USB that you want to be made into the bootable USB. So that is my F drive here, my SanDisk USB. Now it's important that you don't have anything on this USB that you want, as it will be wiped during the creation of the bootable USB. So once you've selected the device that you want to be the bootable USB, you then want to select your image. So if we come to select, and we then find our ISO, and now we've selected the ISO, if we now click start, and again, it's just warning you that anything on the drive that was selected, so for me that is the F drive, anything on it will be removed, so do not have anything on it that you want. So if we now click OK, that will now start creating the bootable DBAN USB for us. And there we go, that is now finished. So now this USB is now named DBAN, and we can now boot into it, and it will load up the DBAN program. So now what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to figure out what F key on the keyboard you have to press on your computer's boot up to get it to the boot menu so that you can then select the USB. So for example, for me it is F12. So if once I power the computer off and power it back on, if I hold down the F12 key, that will then bring up the boot menu where I can select the USB to boot from. So I will just power off the computer and then hold down F12 for my computer to get to the boot menu, and I will be back with you once I'm at the boot menu. Right, so now I've shut down my computer and booted it back up into the boot menu by pressing the boot key on my computer at startup to get it to go to the boot menu. As you can see, the only boot options I have are the USB and my other SSD. Now that is because I have disconnected my main SSD, so what would normally be your C drive, I have disconnected it from the computer. Now I would recommend that you disconnect any drives that you do not want to be wiped. So you only have the boot USB plugged into your computer in addition to any drives that you do want to be wiped. Now I'd recommend that you have any drives that you don't want to be wiped disconnected, just so that you can't accidentally wipe them. So at the boot menu, you just need to select the device that is your DBAN boot image. So for me, that is the USB that is here. So once you've selected that, it should then load up DBAN. And now if you only have drives connected that you want to wipe, so you do not have any drives that you want to keep the data on, then all you have to do is enter auto nuke and then press enter. So as you can see, the bottom command here that says enter auto nuke at this prompt to start DBAN in automatic mode. If you do that, that will just wipe any drive that is connected to the computer. So if you do use that, make sure that you do not have any drives that you want to keep the data on connected. Now you can also just press enter at this point, and then once it finishes scanning, you then should be able to see all of the devices that you have connected to the computer. So as you can see, I just have two devices, so the USB that I'm using as the boot device, and then the SSD that I want to wipe. So you can go through this list and then just press enter on the ones that you want to be wiped, and it will then put wipe in the brackets. Now again, you want to make sure that none of the drives that you want to keep the data on, if they are in this list, have wipe next to them, as once you proceed to the next step, anything that has wipe within the brackets will get wiped. Now I'll repeat again, I would recommend you disconnect any drives that you want to keep the data on so that you cannot accidentally wipe them, and obviously you do not want to wipe the boot USB that you created, so I'm just going to leave it with wipe selected on my SSD here, and then once you've selected all of the drives that you want to wipe, you then just want to press F10 to start wiping them. So it will now start wiping and zeroing out the drive. Right, so now DBAN is finished, I will now unplug the boot USB, re-plug in my main drive, and then boot back into Windows and do a scan on the drive again. Right, so now I'm back at the desktop. If I now open up disk management, as you can see the 120GB SSD has now been fully wiped, so I'll just set it back to GPT, and as you can see it's currently unallocated, so I'll just reassign it a drive letter and give it a name. And there we go. So now if we open up the file recovery software again, and we try scanning the SSD, now as you can see it's now finished its scanning and it was not able to find any files after the drive has been wiped by DBAN. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, don't forget the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you another time. Bye.